Pope Francis passed away, revealing two shocking truths that every Christian needs to consider. The revelation of a false Vatican-related prophecy is now evident. The leader of more than 1 billion Catholics has just left us, and the entire world is watching. Just yesterday, Pope Francis waved to thousands of people in St. Peter's Square, smiling from his papal vehicle. Regardless of whether you are Catholic or not, there are two powerful truths that need to be known at this time. The first is that the Vatican prophecy was false. A secret prophecy, a warning whispered through the centuries, is about to be unveiled, revealing what was hidden behind those whispers. A question that shook the highest levels of the Vatican. Could we be living in the time of the last Pope? And if we are, what happens next? The answer could turn centuries of beliefs upside down. Some believe that an ancient prophecy predicts that the current Pope would be the last before the end of time. However, we now know the truth and will soon reveal how close millions came to trusting a lie. This may be just another misinterpreted prophecy over the centuries, and such misunderstanding can be as dangerous as disbelief. Stay with me, as what you are about to hear will leave you speechless. If we do not correctly discern the times, we run the risk of being swept away by them. In the year 1139, an Irish archbishop named Saint Malachy claimed to have received a mystical vision. A vision of the future of the Catholic Church, which included all popes until the end of time, and which now causes shockwaves around the world. But the shock is just the beginning, as disappointment often follows. If this prophecy were real, the consequences would be unimaginable. And the more we investigate, the more disturbing the implications become. You will see why this prophecy may have been more dangerous than anyone could have realized. In his vision, St. Malachy saw a line of 112 popes stretching into the future. Each was described with a cryptic phrase, a short prophecy that seemed to capture their identity, reign, or influence. Some were mysterious, others frighteningly accurate. And the last pope on the list would be Pope Francis. If his name ends the list, what begins after him? But if Francis were the last pope, according to Vatican prophecy, it would mean reigning through great tribulations, the destruction of Rome, the city on the 7 hills, and then judgment. Could this prophecy be predicting the fall of the Vatican, the collapse of the Church's power, a major persecution of Christians, or something even greater? Even if St. Malachy's prophecy is true, would this imply the collapse of the Vatican, the rise of a new leader, or would it mark the beginning of the end? Sometimes it's not what happens that's dangerous, but what doesn't happen. Are these prophecies really true? Prophesying is simply speaking in the name of a prophecy, but prophecy is a double-edged sword and can be used to deceive. Not every prophecy brings light. Some are forged in the shadows. You are about to see the line between inspiration and disappointment. This moment will distinguish those who discern from those who are swallowed by ignorance. When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if what he says is not fulfilled, it is a sign that it is not something that the Lord spoke, but that the prophet did it presumptuously. Deuteronomy 18:22 tells us that we should not fear such a prophet. It was easy to know whether a prophet spoke in the name of Baal or Asherah, but how can you tell when someone speaks presumptuously or disobediently in the name of the Lord? One way was by the accuracy of his predictions. But what happens when a false word is accepted as truth? Entire nations can be led astray. We also read that if the thing does not happen or is not fulfilled, it is because it is not something the Lord has said. If a prophet claims, "Thus says the Lord," and makes a prediction that does not come true, he should be held accountable for the false prophecy and no longer considered a trustworthy prophet. This principle does not exclude that of Deuteronomy 13. When we do not test the spirits, we run the risk of trusting the serpent, and that risk is more real today than ever. However, this does not mean that we are not in the last days. People ask, are we in the end times? And what we discover next may be The question everyone wants answered once and for all is whether we are living in the end times. When we unravel this doubt, the truth may be more disturbing than expected. However, the Bible talks about the last days, and the real meaning of this may surprise. We have been living in these last days for about 2,000 years, since Pentecost, when the first prophecy of the last days was fulfilled. Every Christian generation must be prepared for the Lord's return. The Bible is a book full of predictions, contains around 735 predictions about the future. A prediction can be found in a quarter of the biblical chapters. It is, in essence, a prophetic text, although some books focus more on predictions than others. Among these predictions, 596 have already literally occurred, according to the scriptures. This means that 81% of biblical prophecies have already come true, and some were made centuries before they were fulfilled. It doesn't take much faith to believe that the remaining 19% will also happen. It is a very high success rate. But which prophecies are yet to come, and why are they the most dangerous? The Bible has been shown to be 100% correct for every prediction that could have come true so far. Of those that have not yet been fulfilled, most are related to the return of Jesus and what will follow. How many of these predictions need to be fulfilled before Jesus returns? The answer is about 20. And we are vigilant, watching for these signs before we wait for the Lord's return. Jesus told us to watch and pray. What should we watch out for? It's not about standing still and looking at the clouds waiting for them to appear. He was referring to being attentive to world events and the signs he gave us to prepare. These signs are indications that the times are being fulfilled. The Bible does not point to a specific pope, but to signs of Jesus' return. Let us then analyze Matthew chapter 24, where the disciples asked him, "What will be the signs of your return? And what will we do if we do not know when it will occur?" In response, Jesus gave a direct and clear explanation, but also indicated that there was a hidden part. We can thank God for the clear answer he gave. The disciples approached Jesus privately as he sat on the Mount of Olives. In this passage, he mentioned 4 distinct signs of his coming. The first is already unfolding before us. One of the 4 signs is present, while the other 3 have not yet manifested themselves. Therefore, I affirm that we are at the beginning of the end times. What, then, are these 4 signs? The first is clearly worldwide disasters. The second sign, which is found in the church, represents an unexpected twist in the prophecy, as what happens inside the church may be the biggest clue yet. Worldwide disasters are the first sign. This brings us to the third sign of the end times, which is the anguish of Jerusalem. Geographically, it will be very limited. In this passage, Jesus quotes the prophecies of Daniel, and there is a figure in Daniel's prophecies referred to as the abomination of desolation mentioned 3 times. What does this mean? This is a human being, a man who establishes himself in the very city of God, proclaims himself God, and refuses to accept any will above his own. A tyrant whose arrival will have global implications, but who will be centered in Jerusalem, the city of God, the holy place. Then Jesus says that the 4th sign of his coming will come immediately after this. We will know when he is coming. We will be prepared. When this sign appears, there will be no danger of false prophets or false messiahs. There will be no mistake, as it will be something quick. What will happen is that all natural light will be turned off. The sun will darken, the stars will fall. There are many such predictions throughout the Bible. Isaiah, for example, predicts this. The heavens will be rolled up like a carpet. All the stars in the sky will dissolve. The heavens will be rolled up like parchment, and all their stars will fall like withered leaves from the vine and fig tree. Natural light will disappear, leaving only artificial light to illuminate the earth. What is happening, people may ask? This is the moment, Christians will exclaim. The sun, stars, and moon will cease their normal functions. Just before this extraordinary event, God will turn off the lights in heaven to set the stage for the flash of light that will mark Jesus' return. Then he will come in the clouds back to planet Earth, and we will meet him. It won't be in a ground stadium, as there isn't one big enough to hold such a huge crowd. We will catch him in the air, and that will be enough. Isn't that a fantastic prospect? When you see all these things, you know he is at the door, about to enter. He tells you, secondly, how you should react if you are not Catholic. When a global spiritual leader dies, but not everyone agrees with his teachings, a tension arises that many believers feel right now. Pope Francis, leader of the Roman Catholic Church, passed away at the age of 88 after a long illness. The official cause was a stroke and heart collapse. His last appearance was on Easter Sunday, where he gave a brief public blessing. For Catholics around the world, this is more than the loss of a leader. It feels like the loss of a father. And whether we agree with their beliefs or not, this pain is real. Our response needs to reflect this. Here is where things get complicated. Some will say, "Why should I say anything? He didn't teach the gospel the way we believe." Others may say, "Now is the time to expose false teachings." But the scriptures offer us a better way. Romans 12:15 says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep." It doesn't say only when you agree, but if someone mourns, grieve with him. And it's not because we are compromising the truth, but because we are demonstrating compassion. This moment could be the most powerful test of our spiritual maturity yet. Respect does not mean agreement. This is the first truth we must remember. Jesus himself disagreed with the religious leaders of his day, but he still spoke to them compassionately, reached out his hand, and as he stood on the cross, prayed, "Father, forgive them." We can and must defend the truth, but we can do so without arrogance, because when pride grows in our hearts, the world hears our tone louder than our message. And in times like these, what they hear matters more than ever. You may feel torn, and when someone dies, especially someone the world respects, we are not just talking to Catholics. We are talking to our neighbors, co-workers, friends who are watching how believers respond. This is an opportunity to display Christ-like character. The second truth is that moments of grief are moments of testimony. We often think that evangelism is just about what we say, but sometimes it's about how we respond. Do we seem bitter? Are we seen as judgmental? Or do we speak with tenderness and wisdom? Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." This is a time to respond with a soft word, not a soft truth, but a soft heart. Because sometimes the world is not ready to hear the truth, but it is ready to see how we live the truth. Our conduct, especially in times of mourning, can be more eloquent than our words. The way we embrace the suffering of others can be a powerful testimony to the faith we profess. The third essential truth for every Christian at this historical moment is that unity in Christ transcends denominational divisions. Even as we acknowledge the deep and enduring doctrinal differences between Protestants and Catholics, beliefs about salvation, traditions, the role of Mary, the Pope, the sacraments, and the structure of the Church, it is crucial to remember that we are all called to reflect the love of Christ. Unity is not about uniformity of belief, but about unity in the love and hope we share in Jesus. So when we speak now, we can build bridges or burn them. What we say and how we say it can influence people's perceptions of the gospel. Even if we disagree, we can honor the image of God in each person, showing respect and compassion. This is living the true Christian faith, which manifests itself not only in words, but in acts of love and humility. When people reject Jesus, they are often rejecting the way we represent him, and it is essential that our hearts are aligned with his. What if this moment is part of something much bigger? What if God is sparking a conversation between believers and non-believers, opening hearts in ways they weren't open before, not because of agreement, but because of grief? If we respond well, God can use this moment to plant seeds of truth that will germinate later. But if we respond coldly, we can close that door before it even opens. What if this is a test not of doctrine, but of heart? The ultimate truth is this: we are not fighting against people, but against spiritual deception. Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age." Pope Francis was a man, a human being, and when we lose that perspective, we start fighting the wrong war. We fight people instead of praying for them. We criticize instead of crying with them. And we forget that our true enemy is the one who wants to divide us all. Right now, the media is full of tributes. Leaders around the world, from presidents to prime ministers, are talking about its influence. Social media is full of emotional posts. Churches are holding vigils, and in the midst of it all, the voice of the evangelical church must be clear, calm, and compassionate. We don't need to echo false unity, but we need to show the true heart of Christ, because if we fail to love in a time like this, who will hear our message later? So what should we do? We stand in the truth. We hold the gospel close. We speak clearly when questioned, but we also show kindness. We show honor. We cry with those who mourn. Because Jesus didn't just call us to be right, he called us to be light. And in a dark world, moments like this are our chance to shine. Let's do it well, let's do it truthfully, and let's do it with grace.